Today I'm going to show you all how to make this and two other one-pot rice dishes. Trinidadian Ochro rice is a flavorful and hearty dish combining the unique flavors of okra with rice and various seasonings. Bhaji rice is a delicious and nutritious dish that combines rice with the earthy notes of bhaji, richness of coconut milk, and aromatic seasonings and flavorings. Bhaji is a type of spinach or leafy green with an earthy flavor profile. It's a simple yet flavorful dish that's perfect as a side or a light main course. Split peas rice is a comforting and nutritious dish that highlights the delicious blend of rice and split peas with aromatic seasonings and flavorings. Alright, so the first rice dish we're going to do is okra rice. So you want to get your pot heated, then we go in with some coconut oil. If you prefer vegetable oil, you could use that. So if you just want to go ahead and omit the oil, you could do that as well. Get that heated. Then we go in with some onions. This may look like a lot, but onions is flavor. We're just gonna build on that flavor in our one pot. Next, some pimento and thyme. Again, more flavor. And to that, we're going in with some saltfish. Now this saltfish is already boiled to help remove some of the excess salt. So you want to break it up. Some people will add pigtail to the okra rice or smoked bones. I mean, it's really a preference thing, so up to you. But today we're just going to be doing saltfish. Alright, so now that we have that incorporated, what we're going to do now, we're going to cover it and let the heat do its thing. Take about 90 seconds so. Alright, so it's been about 90 seconds. So let's give it a turn and take a look. As you can see, the ingredients are starting to turn color, they become a lot more vibrant. So that's our cue to go in with our garlic. I don't like to add garlic too early. That garlic tends to burn quickly. Have a good mix. Then we go in with our okra. And the okra is gonna, obviously the name of the dish is okra rice, right? So a lot of okra. This is gonna give it its classic, that slimy texture, earthy notes. So once again, we're just gonna cover and allow the heat to work for us. Bring all our ingredients together. All right. See, we're hearing that song, it's starting to stick a little bit to the bottom of the pan, but that's okay. The coconut milk will deglaze our pot. So again, you see the slime in the okra starting to come up. That's what happens when you allow the heat to do its thing. So now we're gonna add in our rice. This rice was washed. Washing it helps to remove a lot of the starch and of course cleans it, any remaining dirt, dust, anything like that. So we wanna fully incorporate our rice, because what we want to do when we cover this, we want the heat to once again do the work for us. Heat up the rice, open up its pores, and allow it to start to absorb the flavors of the saltfish, the onion, the pimento, the okra, the garlic. And once again, we're going to cover and leave it for about 2 to 3 minutes. Alright, let's once again check it. So again, sticking a little bit, but that's alright. As I said, the coconut milk is going to deglaze it. So that's what we want. So what we're going to do, going in with our pumpkin, start to season, some salt, black pepper, and our coconut milk. Get all our seasoning well incorporated. The coconut milk will deglaze the pot. Any specks of rice or seasoning that would have stuck, the milk will just deglaze the pot. So. And also the coconut milk, I use hot water, so that way I don't have to wait to bring this up to a boil. See, it's already boiling. So now all I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna top it up with some more hot water. And it's a little tip, always have hot water on hand. Just top it up with a little hot water to level it off. Make sure everything is well incorporated. Drop the heat down to a simmer and going in with our hot pepper. Last but not least, just going in with some freshly chopped Chive and shadow beni. And what we want to do now, we want to let this simmer, low heat, until the rice is fully cooked. So we're going to leave it for about 10 minutes, partly covered, and then show you all. So let's check. So obviously, I mean, the rice isn't going to cook in 10 minutes, right? But what we're really checking for is the liquid levels, because you don't want the liquid to dry out too fast, because then that'll be a indicator that you need to add more. So this is why we're cooking on a low heat. Just moving it around slightly, checking to see if things are still stuck to the bottom, and also, you know, stirring it helps with even cooking throughout. So I'm just gonna even it out, pat it back down. Of course, if you like pepper, you know, go ahead, bust your pepper. We more appreciate the flavor rather than the heat. So we're gonna leave him whole, unless he has a little hole in him that I'm not aware of. Right, and we're gonna just let this continue to go, and we'll come back in another 10 minutes and show you. Alright, so another 10 minutes has passed. So let's check our rice. I mean, so visually you could see how much the rice has expanded. So just to be safe, we're gonna take this bad boy out before we stir. Look at this, see? So what's happened with fine thyme, just leaves the stem. That's why you don't really have to rush to pull it off the stem. Very, get another one. So very slimy, which is what we want. Remember, it's okra rice. It needs to have a little texture, a little slime to it. Check the rice. Right, so see if it. Right, so you see how easy the spatula went through. Again, we'll do it one more time with this one here. So this rice is cooked. How well cooked is up to you. Some of us like friendly rice. Some of us like it a little grainy. I prefer it a little grainy. And then regarding the overall dish, some of us like it wet, and some of us like it a little dry. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna just leave it uncovered and just allow it to just dry out a little bit. Now, one thing to note is that even when you switch this off, if you leave it in this pot, remember this pot is a hot pot, it's going to continue to cook, it's going to continue to dry out, the rice is going to continue to absorb the moisture from the okra, the pumpkin, the coconut milk, of course. So you have to be aware of that. And of course, at the end here, you just taste for salt and adjust accordingly. Remember, the saltfish has salt, so be mindful how much salt you add in, because the saltfish does have a certain level of salt in it too. So we're just going to let this dry out a little bit and then plate up. Alright, so now we're going to be making the bhaji rice. So here we're using an iron pot, which is a more traditional pot to cook these items in. So we're going to heat our pot and go in with some mustard oil. Again, if you prefer coconut oil, vegetable oil, or no oil, you could do that. Once heated, onions, the flavor, some fine thyme and pimento peppers. And then we go in with some pigtail and smoked pork bones. These two ingredients are for flavor. But of course, if you wanted to keep this without meat, or make this without meat, sorry, you could go right ahead and do that. So we're just gonna mix our ingredients and coat all our ingredients in the mustard oil. The mustard oil imparts distinct flavor to the dish, just as coconut oil, which is why I prefer like those two types of oil. Alright, so we're gonna get this mixed up. We're on high heat. Going in with our bhaji. Now, how you add in your bhaji is really up to you. Some people might add it in whole, or you let it cut up, or you break it up like this. I prefer to break it up. This allows for easier cooking, much more even cooking. So we want to get this mixed into our onion and pigtail and smoke bone mixture. Now the heat is gonna significantly bring down the volume in our bhaji. Yeah, which is why we're adding it in early, because we still have a few other ingredients to go. We want to make sure everything fits. All right, so we just lightly incorporate. All right, so what we're gonna do now is cover and let the heat work for us. It'll heat up the bhaji, draw the moisture, and bring it down significantly in volume. All right, so it's been about 90 seconds, so let's check. See our bhaji has come down a little bit, which is what we want. And I like a lot of bhaji in my bhaji rice. But of course, I mean, it's up to you if you want to put a little less. But the name of this is bhaji rice, so we want to taste the bhaji, we want to see the bhaji. Alright, so now that we have this well incorporated, now we're going to add in our rice. And just as before, we wash the rice. Helps to remove some of the starch and also any dirt or dust that may have remained. So next we're going to have some pumpkin and garlic. Alright, so now we're going to do is bring it on the sides. Dropping our heat down to low to medium. We're just going to let the heat work for us again. Heat up the rice, open up its pores, allow it to absorb all the flavors of the other ingredients before we add in the coconut milk. Alright, so now it's time to add in our coconut milk, but before we do that, we will just season one time. Some salt, black pepper. Then we're going in with some coconut milk. That's what we want to hear. Oh yeah, so the milk will deglaze our iron pot. Hot water, hot coconut milk shortens the cooking time because the dish would need to heat up first and then begin to cook. So it's boiling already. So we don't have to wait to bring it to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer and let it cook. Alright, so we're just gonna let this simmer off. Let me just add in some freshly chopped chive and shadow beni. Just leave it at the top. You don't want to add this in too early because you want to take advantage of its aroma. Right in the middle, let's make a little space for him. Right in the middle to help release its flavor without the heat. Of course, as I said earlier, if you like the heat, go ahead and pierce your hot pepper. So we're going to cover and let this go for about 20 to 25 minutes. Alright, so 10 minutes has elapsed. So I mean, it's obviously not cooked, but we just want to show you so you could see it at different stages. So just to be safe, we're going to pull out this bad boy. And you see, so the liquid has fully deglazed the pot. Could go ahead and give it a little turn just to ensure even cooking. You don't have to over stir it. Just once it's not sticking. And this is why I like these wide bottom pots, because they tend to cook flat wide bottom pots. They tend to cook a lot more evenly than the traditional iron pots. Yeah, so we're just gonna continue. Just gonna repeat the process, level it off, and just let it finish cook. Make a space for pepper, cover it, low heat, and just let it finish cook, which should take anywhere from about 15-20 minutes max. Alright, so it's been about 12 minutes. So let's take out this pepper and check. Just give it a turn. So you see, still have a little moisture, but I mean, again, as I said with the okra rice, the moisture level is really up to you. Some people like their rice dishes wet, some people like it dry. Yeah, let's check the rice. So here I just have the offset spatula. Oh yeah, so it went straight through it out with ease. If you want it grainy, just cook it for a little less. If you want it a little friendlier, just let it cook for a little more. Same thing with the moisture level. I'm just gonna let this continue to cook and dry out uncovered. As you can see, as I let it out, the moisture just evaporating. There's all the bubbles there, there's evaporation taking place. And of course, you just taste and adjust your salt levels. Alright, so the first step for our split peas rice now is to cook the split peas. So here we have our dried split peas. I washed it, and you want to wash it until the water runs clear and any floating shells or peas, or sometimes even find stones in these dried peas. You want to make sure to remove all of that. And what I did, I just added it to the pot and just submerged it in water. Now we want to cook this all the way through until it's tender to the touch. Should take about 25 to 30 minutes. We'll check back at about 20 minutes and show you. Now, I don't have a measurement for the water because this is something you could always add, once you're watching it. So after the 20 minutes, we'll check back, and depending on the tenderness of the peas and the level of the water, we'll know if we need to add more water. All right, so it's been 20 minutes. So as you can see, almost all of the water has been absorbed by the peas, but our peas are still a bit hard. They aren't fully cooked, so we're just gonna add in some hot water. So until it's submerged, because I don't want to add too much water, because I don't want to have to strain this or anything like this. I want the peas to be fully cooked, and I want to use that excess liquid in our rice dish. So we're just gonna let this go for another 15 minutes, and then we'll check it again. All right, so we had about the 40-minute mark here with the peas. So sometimes, depending on if the peas is green or ripe, it might take a little longer than others. So just to give you a little comparison, this was the dried peas, and here we have the cooked peas. So you can see how much it's bloomed, absorbed the moisture, expanded, opened up. It still has a little extra water in it, but that's okay. All that could go into the dish. So what we're gonna do now, we're just gonna set this aside and set up our pot to start to make the rice dish. All right, so here we have our heated iron pot. So for this one, I'm not gonna use any oil, to just show you all that it can be done without oil. In goes our onions, pimento, and fine thyme. I have this on high heat. So just wanna give this a good mix, sort of wake up our ingredients, allow the heat to open up the pores. You can already smell the flavors of the pimento. Right, next we're going in with our split peas. Still on high heat here. Next we're going in with our rice, because we want to give the rice some time to absorb flavor and a little color. So I'm going to season here as well. Some turmeric powder for some added color. So let's get all this mixed up. Now from here, you could go ahead and just add everything, submerge it in water and let it cook. As I did with the two other rice dishes, what I want to do is just let the heat do some work for us. Let it heat up the rice, open up its pores, and allow it to absorb color and flavor. So we're just gonna level this off and leave it for about 2 minutes. All right, so it's been about 90 seconds. We're gonna continue to add and build our flavors from carrots, garlic, pimento, and some chive and shadow beni. See garlic here for goes on top of the carrots, right? So we're gonna give this a mix. And it's okay if some of the rice stuck to the bottom. Once we add the liquid, it will deglaze and raise it off of the pot. So I'm just gonna level off and just cover with water, hot water. Scrape down the sides. You see hot water already have already glazing our pot. Alright, and last but not least, our pepper. And we're just gonna cover and let this go for 25 to 30 minutes. So we will check it halfway to show you all. Alright, so it's been 10 minutes. So let's check on our rice. See, most of the liquid has evaporated. Sticking a little at the bottom, but nothing too much. Well, this is pretty much good to go. I don't even need to let this dry out, for me at least. So yeah, we're just gonna plate this up now.